We can add a title later on, that's fine. It's redirecting, so we should see these very, very soon. Looks like we are live.
Yeah, you are.
Perfect.
We are.
First 50 seconds, we are live. Perfect. So let's give it 1 or 2 minutes for people to join in if they are watching. It looks like it's all starting. Guys, if you are watching, please do say hi or put in the comment if you can hear us okay, and perhaps even share where you're watching from, because our audience is actually nicely growing. So we have some people watching from the UK, from Europe, but also from New York lately. So please do say hi if you can hear us okay. And today you're watching another episode of Dream Job Interviews, and I have an amazing guest. Her name is Nina. So let me first introduce Nina. So Nina, thank you so much for having this opportunity and for joining us tonight. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name's Nina Jervis, and I have a freelance writing business under my own name. I'm known as Nina the Writer. You can probably guess what I do from that. I do freelance writing, and I've been doing that for the past 4 years.
Anything else that you would like to share with us from the beginning? I know we will be talking a lot about you today.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's one of those things, isn't it? I normally sit at my desk doing the writing. I'm not talking about myself. It doesn't come particularly naturally to me. So yeah, I guess I do blogging and authoring as well. I've written a couple of books, and yeah, I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that as we continue on.
Perfect. And for those of you who don't know me, guys, also, I want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Adriana Kosowska. I am the founder of Zero to Dream Job, working as a career coach and the founder of this platform that is dedicated to employees who would like to make a positive change in their career, whatever that means for you. You could be looking for your dream job because you are fed up where you are right now, or you may, on the other hand, feel that it's time to go for a bigger challenge and maybe start your own freelancing business and start working for yourself. And this is exactly what we are going to talk about tonight, because freelancing can be a very scary word, right? It really involves doing different things, and it's not just about doing the job as we are doing in employment, right? It's not just a job description that you get. You're actually in a position to create it. So this is what we are going to talk tonight about: freelancing, writing, books. I hope, Nina, that you also have your amazing books with you ready to show us.
I do. Thank you for asking. Here they are. Although they're just bringing together because I'm using a different Zoom background, they look a bit ghostly. But hopefully, we'll find a way to make them stand out.
Perfect. So, and guys, because we are watching, or actually you are watching live, so please feel free to ask the questions. So as we go through this interview, either during the interview or at the end, we will answer your questions. We will pick a few of your questions. And also, if you are watching on a replay, please do a hashtag replay and still free to drop a question, because we can come back to your questions later on, no matter when it is. So Nina, let me start, and I'm gonna start with, career change could be for many people, or even for people I work with, a really scary word. The word change in itself brings uncertainty, doubt, sometimes even a little bit of excitement. It's all mixed together. So what was it that triggered you to go for it, to change your career?
Advancing age, I would say, would be the first answer to that. It's one of those things, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people, when you leave education, you fall into a job because you're not 100% sure what you're doing, unless you've got some kind of a vocation. You kind of just apply for jobs. I mean, in my case, I left college didn't really know what I was good at, so just applied for lots and lots of different jobs. I could have ended up doing any number of things, but I started working in a customer services call centre.
Right.
And then by accident, I started working for a startup, and they didn't have an HR department, and we were taking on more and more staff. And so I volunteered to be the HR person. So I took the qualifications, and then it came to leaving that company, and I had an HR qualification. So it was, well, I'll go and find another HR job, because that's what you do. That's what I was qualified to do. And so I thought, there's not really sort of much. I didn't really think about it. I never, really thought about it, and thought as well that if I wasn't happy in a job, I would just find another one in a different company, and that would probably solve things for a bit. And as a result, I never stayed in a job for any longer than 2 years, because it always ended up not feeling right. And so it's time to move. I've got my HR qualifications, let's take them to another company. And then in the end, it got to a stage where I wasn't getting any younger. And I thought, do I really want, you can kind of see, not necessarily the end of your career, but you can kind of see that it's finite, and at some point you're going to be retiring. And you think to yourself, do I want to be retiring as an HR manager, or will I look back on that and think I could have been doing something completely different? So that was the catalyst. That was what made me want to change.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is like kind of not having a regret that you haven't tried, or is there something else as well?
Yeah, I think so. And it was, it's a question, you kind of just think sometimes there's got to be more to a working life than just this. And I mean, apologies to anyone who's listening to this who work in HR, but it wasn't really very me. Sort of policies and procedures are not really my thing, and listening to complaints about smelly co-workers, you're not really doing anything that makes a great difference to the world. Or not that, I mean, I don't know really. I'm not saying that was what drove me. I just really, more than anything, I wanted to wake up in the morning and feel like I was going to do something that I actually enjoyed, rather than sort of waiting for the weekend or waiting for when I booked my holiday. I always took all my holiday allowance.
Holiday allowance or sickie, right? This is always sometimes.
I never threw a sickie, thank you very much. Can you imagine that?
HR manager pulling a sickie and not coming to work because she's not happy there. Right. But in all fairness, this is how it, I would say starts to manifest, because realizing that you're not happy doing what you are doing, it doesn't work that you kind of wake up one day and you have this kind of light bulb moment thinking, I really want to do something else. It also does manifest in small, I would say, signs, like occasionally you start not feeling excited going to work. It's harder to wake up and get up in the morning. You walk into the office and you have to you feel that you have to put this mask on your face and pretend that you belong there and you're looking forward to, because otherwise people are starting to asking you questions, what's wrong and so on. How was it for you from the beginning? Was it really like this light bulb moment to do this because, I want more than just a career in HR, or was it like a slow progress?
Well, it was quite a slow progress. So I knew I wasn't happy, but I kept trying to find routes still within HR. So I just thought, well, maybe I need to be doing something a bit of a higher, more senior level. Perhaps that's the problem. So I went to see a headhunter, and we kind of sat down, and she kind of went, I could get you, you could work for this company, you could earn a lot more money than you're getting now. And we sort of went through the options. But I came away thinking I should feel really happy, because there's some opportunities here for me to do better and sort of take a traditional step up in my career. I didn't want to do it. I sort of came home thinking, I don't want more of this. But I'd been doing it for such a long time. I honestly just didn't know what else there could be out there. And you're so blinkered. I've been doing the same kind of work. I might have been job hopping, but it was the same kind of work for 15 years. And it's really hard to break out of that. It's like a habit. And all my CV would have said was HR manager. So it's really difficult. You feel confined to your CV sometimes as well, because you look at that and you think, that's all people will see, is that I've done the same kind of job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit difficult to kind of see how that could change.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a slow process in that respect, because it was just difficult to see what else could be out there for me that
Mm-hmm.
was out of the confines of that kind of role, or out of my CV.
Yeah. And out of everything in this world, why writing? You know, like jumping from HR to writing, is it that you felt that you wanted to be creative? Was it maybe your childhood dream? You know, why writing?
Right, well, writing's always been my best friend. I know that sounds a bit
Mm-hmm.
corny, but I've always written. I keep a diary every year. I used to write blogs, just personal blogs. I've written a
Mm-hmm.
novel, just, and without being paid for any of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, I think it was a childhood dream.
Mm-hmm.
But when I left college, I remember saying to my dad that I wanted to write for a living. And like, this was, I'm showing my age here, but this was a long time ago. So it was before the internet and before there was lots of content online and everything like that. And I think my dad was worried that if I tried to pursue a writing career, it would just be dead in the water and I'd end up with no sort of transferable skills. So he kind of discouraged me from doing anything with that. Sorry if you're listening, Dad. I don't think he is, but but I do think that when you kind of leave education, what your family and friends kind of think is a good idea for you does come into play quite a bit, and that's kind of how you fall into a job that perhaps isn't your first love, but does earn a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
So I kept writing in the background. Every job that I've ever had has involved some form of writing that I volunteered to get involved with, aside from the policies and procedures. And yeah, so I did take an 8-week career change course. So I didn't do this on my own. And I discovered that writing, sort of, you know, going back to that childhood dream of writing, was something that I could do. Whether I'd have found out that route on my own, I'm not sure. Might have done. It just might have taken a bit longer. But that career change course did really kind of unblock a few things and kind of make me see that I could turn a love into a career.
Yeah. And there is one important element, and I think you also shared it in the written interview that we did in the past, and that was that you also had to change the perception that you could actually make money from writing. Like, people would literally pay you because, and this is not new, and I also seen it with people that, you know, ask about career change or freelancing or doing whatever they want to do, but it's more creative. It's almost like, you know, this is a regular question. Am I good enough? Would people actually pay me for my writing? So how was it for you? How did you manage to change your perspective on this whole topic?
Well, previously I dismissed writing as a career because I thought to make money from it, you had to be somebody like J.K. Rowling or Stephen King. And I thought, well, I can't be that, you know, that would sort of take years, and I don't know how they managed all the years with the rejections and everything. But it was about taking a step back and looking at other types of writing that people might want. So, I mean, obviously I was an HR manager, so there were certain things that I could do within those realms, such as writing and copywriting for businesses and ad wording for recruitment and things like that. So it was a question of, honestly, really just sitting down and listing all the things that people might want help with writing. I mean, this is going to sound quite morbid, but my nan died around the same time, and nobody wanted to do her eulogy because I think they just felt it was a bit too much, and it is quite a stressful thing to do. So I volunteered to do the eulogy because I felt like she just needed something really sort of personal saying about her. Doing that kind of made me realise that those kind of things are things that people need as well. So even just collecting your thoughts enough so that they can be presented in written form, so that they make sense. I think that's a really interesting aspect to what I do, because it's not just about the writing, it's helping people sort of collect their thoughts and actually create something coherent from that. So it's all things like that. It's things like online dating profiles. I've done a couple of those. And it's not just necessarily the profile, it's kind of having a chat with somebody, finding out what they're actually looking for, and then translating that into words that they would use themselves and would be appealing to somebody reading it. And that, I mean, those principles go for pretty much anything,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of business writing as well, where you get people talking about their business,
Mm-hmm.
for web copy, and blogging as well. Because once you get to know someone and their kind of personality, it's pretty easy to write in their style. And I really enjoy that part of it, actually, writing blog posts for companies and people.
Yeah.
And even I've even ghostwritten books as well in the same vein, and I enjoy the conversations almost as much as the writing, because it's the process of drawing out the story from people that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I've rambled on a little bit to your question there.
No, it's fantastic. I actually have one more thing I wanted to ask. So I can imagine this is a challenge that many people who want to start working freelance, and they go for something that is, I would say, not so common, like maybe accounting services and so on, but more creative. Like, how long did it take you to convince your dad that this is actually a real creative profession that you can make a decent living from?
Hey, I'm over 30. I'm over 30. I don't need to convince anyone anymore. I think that's the thing about starting a business when you get a bit older. It's kind of like, well, you know, it's kind of like I've made a living doing the traditional thing now, and I'm old enough and ugly enough to kind of start out where I wasn't living. I mean, I think my dad was probably more worried because I was living at home, and he probably thought he'd never get rid of me if I was. But once you move out and you live on your own, it's almost like, oh, just do what you want. It's fine.
So the tip is, don't worry what your parents think. If you're really convinced you want to do it, right?
That gets easier and easier, folks, the older you get.
I'm loving it because it really brings a little bit of humor into this. And sometimes nothing really helps when you are lost for, arguments or justifications or explaining why something should work the way you want. Why not just give it a try and see and learn from it? Fantastic. Freelancing now, Nina. So you explained quite nicely about the career change and how it went for you, but now you decided that you wanted to work freelance, that you wanted to do the writing, but I can imagine you started from not knowing how to do your finance, how to market your business, how to take care of the legal stuff, how to, I don't know, just everything that you do all of a sudden in a business as an entrepreneur or solopreneur. That's a very popular word these days. You kind of do it all by yourself. So where did you start?
I really felt my way through step by step. So, I mean, I took a bit of a leap. I didn't do it gradually because I knew that if I did it gradually, I probably would end up doing it only half-heartedly. And I felt very committed to throwing myself in and just seeing what happened. It felt like the right thing to do. It's not for everybody. So I know that for some people, a better route might be to negotiate part-time hours in your job and then kind of feel your way from there. But I just handed my notice in. And I thought, right, let's just make or break. Let's just see if it works. And it was just, to be honest, it was just Googling how to set up as a freelance writer. And it was things like taking it step by step. So kind of getting in touch with, I'm lucky that my sister-in-law is an accountant. So I went to her for advice about how to set up the company. I then went out and found a web designer that would do my branding and sort out a website for me. I didn't do these things on my own because I thought, or I outsourced them because I think it's important that you should concentrate on the skills that you have and let people that are skilled in other areas help you with other things. So I wouldn't dream of trying to design a website myself. I wouldn't dream of trying to sort out the account side myself because those are not my areas of expertise. So I think it's very important to kind of know what you're good at, but also know your limitations. And I tried to keep that in mind when I started out. So it was a question of kind of going, well, I need to do this. Who can help me with it? And kind of working on that. And then it was on to trying to find some clients because I didn't have any. I just knew I wanted to be a writer. So I kind of put some feelers out and I got a couple. So where I'd been doing CV writing or I'd been talking about CV writing previously, I got a couple of clients that way just by talking about it and speaking to friends. I was going to say reaching out then. I hate that as an expression, but it was kind of going out and finding people that might be interested in the kind of thing that I was going to be doing and just kind of really just going to everybody I knew and saying, hey, I'm about to start up as a freelance writer, would you like anything done? I also set up a survey before I launched, so I could kind of find out what kind of services might be the most popular, so that I could focus on them sort of above all else. And from that, I kind of got that the CV writing and the blogging would be sort of two big parts of what I would end up doing. So I tried to focus on those. And yeah, it was all a bit of a whirlwind, really. It was a question of sort of making that list of things that need to be done, and then just trying to drum up as much help and support as I could, and then throwing yourself out there and giving it a go. Which I did.
Take it from one day to another.
Yeah.
There is a big thing about the business plan, and I have to say I'm not a big fan of writing a really big business plan, especially now, especially at the beginning when you are really just starting off and you have all these things to think about. I personally found it that it kind of froze me. Like I had to make a choice. Do I want to spend 1 week writing a business plan, or can I actually just think who my client would be, get out there and start talking to the client to see what they actually would want? So what is your relationship with business plan? Do you use business planning, or are you really like freestyle, creative?
I would be lying. I know that that's what everybody says you have to do. And probably, I'll be honest, if I had done one and if I was still working to one, maybe I'd have been more richer, or maybe, but I just, and again, I'm not advocating this, just like I don't necessarily advocate just handing your notice in.
Yeah.
But I didn't do it that way. I didn't sit, because it just would have driven me crazy. I've done, everything that I have done has been, I don't want to sound wishy-washy, but it's been quite intuitive. It's just me kind of feeling that this is what needs to be done next, and I need to do that, and I need to work on that, and that's how I do it. And it has worked for me for the past 4 years. I probably, if I'd had a plan and stuck to it and followed it to the letter, might have been, I mean, who knows, I might have made more money.
Yeah.
But actually, that to me is one of the really lovely things about being in charge of my own time and my own, it's not really a company, but my own work. And that is, I get to do it the way that I want to do it. So, you know, I mean, if things got drastic, maybe I'd call in some help, get it writing a business plan. But no, I haven't got one. I've never written one, and I can't advise on how to do it, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's about, it's not right or wrong, but what I was asking about, it's more, don't get, you know, when you go onto Google and look at how to start business, and you often get like, yeah, you need to make sure you have everything legally covered and so on. Make sure that you write the business plan. But some of the business plans are really lengthy, really complex, and they can actually discourage you from the beginning. So it's also okay to try the approach as you have, and we have a real example here that it's worked for you. So there must be something good about it.
If I was plotting world domination, like if I wanted to be the next Donald Trump, for example, I wanted to build a load of companies and I wanted lots of it, I would have a business plan. But I think in terms of my work, I just want enough work for myself. I'm not interested in employing staff, because I know that I work best on my own. I'm not interested in expanding. I'm not interested. So I think it works. But I do think that if I wanted to build an empire, I would need a plan, and I would write one accordingly. But I don't want to do that. So I think that's an important caveat. I haven't. Yeah. I think it suits me because I'm quite happy working for myself and by myself.
Perfect. So it's quite good also to consider these type of things right early on when you start freelancing. But what do you really want? Do you want just to run your business as a, let's say, CEO, or do you actually want to deliver the service by yourself? Do you want to employ people? Would you recommend these two people to consider early on at the beginning, just to really get a vision of what they want in next 2-3 years? Maybe not 10 or 15, but just like in this short term.
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, I suppose I never really consciously sat and thought about it, but I did know that I work best on my own. And I think if you know that about yourself, that can be really helpful. So if you like working in a large group of people, then yeah, kind of working out how you're going to get that kind of level of collaboration around you, would be good. So your plan would have to incorporate that. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, if you see working for yourself as a necessary evil to get you to something a bit bigger, then I think it would be better to have a plan and to sit and plot out the steps when you'd expect that to happen, definitely.
Okay. Fantastic. And I want to stop here just for a second to invite people who are watching us. Guys, don't be shy. Ask the question. You can do it right now. And we have a couple of lovely comments. So, hi, Sylvie. Hi, Karen. Absolutely excited to have you here with us. Ashley actually saying this is a wonderful topic. So, guys, feel free to ask questions. Be curious, as curious as you like, as creative as you like. Nina, I want to go into something that people don't like to talk about or maybe are scared to think about. And these are things like freelancing doesn't give you a regular paycheck when you see the same amount of money coming in every month, right? And this is actually one of the top reasons why people feel really uncomfortable from the beginning to go into freelancing, because they simply don't have this paycheck guarantee, this regular income. And it's even more critical from when I'm talking to people, especially if you're in your 30s or 40s, right? When you have mortgage to pay, bills to pay, and you're kind of thinking, how the hell am I going to make this when I don't even have my very first client? How can I actually sustain my living standard, ensure that I can put food on the table? Just really, I'm not even talking here now maybe about holidays, but really these basic things that we need. And, what kind of shift or what kind of change did you have to make in a way that you were thinking about your money coming in? What did you change, or what did you have to get used to?
I had to get used to not knowing what was coming in from one month to the next. I was lucky in that I had some savings to play with at the beginning, but it was only enough for about a month before I would need to start earning. So I knew that there was that countdown when I started out. I mean, that was good for me because it kind of pushed me.
Right.
It means you can't rest on your laurels. If there isn't money there, you really do have to put the work in. I mean, you have to anyway, but there's an extra sort of edge to it if there's no money behind you and you know that what you've got there's a limit and it's going to run out. So yeah, and it really is. I mean, even to this day, I don't know what 1 month's going to look like and how different it will look from the last one. And you do get months where I mean, when I first started, it took a good couple of months for me to start building up a good kind of selection of clients. And I went out and I networked and I kept asking if there was, I mean, you have to be quite persistent. You can't, if you decide you're going to work for yourself and be freelance, you can't just decide that and then put a few posts on social media and then think that the clients are going to come rolling in, because they're really got to get out. And that was difficult for me because I'm a massive introvert. I love being on my own, like my own company. I don't particularly like collaboration for the sake of it. So I really did have to put myself out and go and find clients. But I knew that if I didn't do that, I wasn't going to earn any money. So yeah, but there's a lot of uncertainty around that. And I'm a little bit more used to it now because somehow I finish every month in an okay position, and I have done for the last 4 years. So it's kind of that repetition. You kind of think, okay, it's okay so far, it's okay, but things do fluctuate. You get some months that are really good, some months are a bit quiet, and you just have to get used to it. And then maybe think to yourself, if you've had a couple of quiet months, what can you do to kind of, can you do a promotion, can you launch a service, can you do a new type of advertising, can you go to a new networking meeting, what can you do to kind of just bring that up a little bit. And I think knowing how much you need to make every month is crucial as well. So one of the first things I did was sit down with my bank statements and get a sense of how much I actually needed to earn. So I wasn't going into it in the dark about what I needed to make. Even if I wasn't sure about how I was going to make it, I needed to know how much I had to make to cover my bills and have a little bit left over. So you're kind of armed with that information. And I also went through my bank statements and saw where I could make some cutbacks. So it's actually amazing, because I worked in the city, how much money that I was spending on the train tickets for the commute, and also because I was bored and not very happy in my job, how many times I would go out and buy myself an expensive lunch, or go out for a coffee with friends, or go out for cocktails up in London. It's not cheap. So actually, even just by not working in London, I actually saved quite a lot of money. I found that I didn't need to earn as much as I thought I did, which was actually really helpful.
Right. So it's not just about looking at the money that you have coming in, but it's also really looking at and being aware, what is it that I spend the money on? Because one of the things that fascinates me, and when you're unhappy at work, or when you're in a certain, I would say, working culture, you often feel obliged to do certain things and pay for them. Or even, sometimes just like buy coffees because it's a trend. You see everyone is doing it, you do the same without realizing that you actually do it. Plus, sometimes we don't realize that when we are unhappy at work, we tend to sacrifice for that unhappiness by buying stuff that would make us happy. So did you also experience any of this?
Oh yeah. I mean, I bought expensive clothes and makeup and stuff like that. Typical frivolous things. But I didn't feel happy buying those things. They didn't make me. There's that kind of instantaneous kind of thrill when you buy something new and you imagine how it's going to change your life, but then you realize it's not. It's really just stuff, and you're going to hang it up in your wardrobe, and in a couple of months you're probably going to give it to a charity shop. So it's kind of so I mean, I don't miss that at all. I don't really do that anymore, but I don't need to do that anymore. But I would say that if buying expensive things is something that you cannot do without, don't go freelance.
Or stock up before. Right, but it's that kind of a temporary step that, or I would say sacrifice, that is a question of priorities, isn't it? If you know that launching your business is a priority for you, and you know that you might invest some money into getting extra help, it's nothing in comparison to gaining the freedom, satisfaction, and fulfillment, because all those values seems to kind of, I would say, show you what you really want, right?
Oh, totally. And the thing is, the one thing you do learn by changing your career and doing something else is that there are lots of other options in life. It's really easy to feel restricted by what you're currently doing, because it's hard to imagine that there's a way out. Actually, there's loads of little ways out. And if something doesn't work, you can try something else. I mean, I sound really free and easy with all of that. And I will kind of say that quite an important point, I guess, is that I don't have like children or a family. I might have approached it differently if I had children to look after and other lives to be responsible for. As it is, I've only got my 2 cats, and they're not really, they quite like the fact that I'm working from home. So as long as I keep them in cat food, that's fine.
That's fine. And before we move on to the writing, do you have a confession to make? Something that you were, I would say, the most scared about when you started freelancing?
I guess the number one fear that I had was it felt so right, everything that I was doing, that I was worried that if it would turn out to not be right, could I ever trust myself again, if that makes sense?
Like for making the decision and the choice that you made, or?
Yeah, I was so led by my intuition and what felt right. And I had it just felt absolutely right. This feeling in my gut that I was doing the right thing by handing my notice in. And people said to me, because I mean, my boss said to me when I handed in my notice and I said what I was going to do, and he said, "Oh, you'll be on the dole within a year." And I had people saying to me, "Oh, it's so brave. Are you sure? Are you sure you can?" And actually, I think sometimes people don't help. Like when you tell people that you're making a change, because they're scared for you. They can't imagine doing anything like that themselves. So you're doing it, and it's terrifying them. And
so what did you say?
Well, I just went ahead because I had that strong fit. This is what I mean. I felt so strongly that it was the right thing to do. But there was a secret fear that if it went wrong, I would not ever be able to trust myself again. I'd never be able to trust my gut. Luckily, it was the right thing to do. I was right to trust it. But if I had a particular fear, I would say it was that, because you're never quite sure, and you're paying money to have people help you with websites and accounts and things like that, and in the beginning more money goes out than comes in, because obviously you're kind of building yourself up. And so with every day that passed, it was kind of like more was going out than coming in, and I was thinking, well, now I've really got to do something about this. And luckily I didn't feel that it was a mistake at any point. But I was also worried. Obviously, I had my savings. I was worried about eating into them, and then maybe using them all up, which did happen. I now have no savings. So I mean, there are certain sacrifices, and I'm just lucky that I have felt that it's all been worth it, and I have listened to what I felt would be right. But yeah, but that is a fear, or it was a fear that I had.
Great. So I think we've covered a lot about like fears and things like that. So I want to move on to something a bit more exciting, and that is your real passion, which is writing. Because people might know some of us, because I know you also for a few years now, and you also, apart from, I would say, writing and content writing, also mentor people, coach people on how to create content, how to blog. So your portfolio of services is really nicely growing from just that's a really wrong way, sorry about that, from writing to really empowering people to write. Plus, you've published a couple of books since you started. So tell us more, what drives you, what inspires you to write and to empower people to fall in love with writing?
Oh, wow, that's a really big question. Well, I've always written, I know this is going to sound a bit corny, but I've always written to help me make sense of life. So writing for me is just a brilliant way of collecting my thoughts and kind of helping them to make sense. And it's great that I get to do that for other people. And so my books tend to be, I have written a novel, but my books tend to be non-fiction for that reason. It's kind of like finding a topic and then writing the hell out of it, which is something that I've always done like since I was a kid, and I wasn't showing my scribbles to anybody. But yeah, it's about making sense of life and people and sort of all the crazy things that we all do. That's what I love writing for. I think it's unbeatable for that kind of thing. And I love introducing people to that side of it. So the courses that I run, which are about kind of unblocking that kind of, I'm not a good writer, and how will I find regular ideas and stuff like that? I don't have the confidence. It's kind of, I love helping people to overcome that, kind of fall in love with just the sense of expression that it gives you. Because I think I'm not really that hung up on spelling and grammar. I notice it, but I'm more interested in self-expression than I am in picking apart people's spelling and grammar and things like that.
Okay. And what would you recommend to somebody? Because this is a common fear. And I have to say, when I started blogging, given that English is my second language, you know very well, I was petrified, and I go back and find errors. So what would you recommend to people? I know you gave me good tips, but let's share them with our with people who are watching right now.
Well, I always think get somebody to have a look at it, and I was going to say somebody that you trust, but you really want them to be honest. And the worst thing I think is when you finish a piece of writing and you show it to somebody and they just go, oh yeah, it's really good, and you kind of think, no, what, I know it wasn't 100% good. There's got to be something. I mean, I have had experience with that because I've been writing for a really long time. I've joined writers groups over the years. I've posted things online, and you can get some quite harsh criticism sometimes. And I've got a 1-star Amazon review for one of my books that calls it a load of old twaddle, which I quite like actually, because I do think you can't please everybody. But every time somebody gives you some feedback like that, you learn, and you've always got the choice. Like, you can have a look at a piece of feedback somebody gives, like that review that I had. 1 star, somebody calling it a load of old twaddle. I looked at what the guy said and I thought, I don't agree, but I can see what you're saying, but I don't agree. That's fine. Like, it's not a problem. You've always got the option of kind of, no, I think you're wrong, actually, I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing. But when people give you that feedback, that's how you learn. You can't write in a vacuum. If you want to be paid for it, you have to show it to people, you have to get their feedback, and you have to overcome that whole, I'm really worried about sharing this with people. You have to do that if you want to write for a living.
And that goes probably with everything when it comes to like promoting what you're up to in freelancing business, whether it's just through writing, because you mentioned that for you, that you are an introvert and you like doing things on your own. How was it really like for the first time when you say, okay, people don't know about me. I don't want to be the best kept secret, and I need to kind of get out of that comfort zone, feel although it feels uncomfortable, but really tell people what I'm up to, whether it's blogging, whether it's Facebook lives, whether it's I don't know, doing podcasts, maybe going on to radios, shows, and so on. Really share about it. So what is your tip to help people to overcome this fear of visibility and also partly judgment, right? Because visibility is linked with, I'm worried how people will let's say maybe criticize me or think this is nonsense. So what would you say to people? What is your tip?
There's nothing else to be done but power on through it and trust that you're on the right track. You have to try things, and you have to test ideas, and you have to put things out there and see what people think. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, they don't care. And that is actually quite liberating, because I know that when I first started out and I first started blogging on my website, and you press publish for the first time and you're terrified because you kind of think, what if this doesn't hit the mark, or if I get a load of angry comments, but comments would actually 9 times out of 10 people don't care. They read it and then they move on, and that is actually quite liberating, because it kind of means you can test out ideas and share them, and not really worry that you're going to kind of cause a massive global impact that's gonna attract sways of criticism, unless of course you've got a really unpopular opinion that you want to share and kind of want to incite that. But there's nothing to be done but try. I mean, I will say that since I've gone freelance, I've set myself some challenges to deal with some that I'm not so good at. So I'm terrible at public speaking, as you can probably tell from this interview.
No, you're not.
And so I set myself some challenges to kind of go on some public speaking tours, and so I did some readings from one of my books in front of an audience, which was the most terrifying thing, I think, until I decided to join an improvised comedy course, which is probably the most terrifying thing that I've ever done. But it's all about trying new things and putting myself out there even more, and I guess letting myself fail a little bit as well, not being great and still doing it anyway. Because you don't have to be perfect at stuff, and I think that's what stops people from trying new things. That kind of feeling that you've got to be perfect. Actually, you don't. You just need to give things a go, and then you've got a better idea of what you like and what you don't like, what you want to do more of, and what you want to cut back on. So all the things that I've done, like that, there's public speaking and everything, have been terrifying. But I learned from all of them. You know what? I'm still here. It didn't kill me. I'm still here talking to you. So, yeah, why not?
So what? Go on.
I was going to say, just do things that scare you. It's really good for growth.
Do things that scare you. Plus, I also feel a little bit of, don't be too attached to it. Like, don't take it really personal, because if you want to provide value, I remember one very clever sentence that you shared with us on the blogging course, and that was, chances are that people who are meant to read your blog are going to read it. People who are not your ideal audience, people who are not interested in what you have to say, chances are they will not even come across your profile, your Facebook page, your LinkedIn profile, your blog, because there is simply, it's just misalignment, isn't it? And so sometimes we might be worrying for no reason in that case, right?
Totally. Like, you'll find the people you're meant to find. I don't mean that in some kind of like woo-woo kind of a way. Putting yourself out there, you'll find the people that are supposed to find you. So, I mean, using the example, I keep talking about this 1-star review that I got, but the guy that left me this 1-star review, he's not going to read my books, but that's fine. I'm not right for him. But there's other people that do enjoy my work, and luckily there's enough of them to kind of keep me in business, and that's all I need. I don't need the whole world to think I'm amazing, and there'd be something a bit wrong about that anyway, wouldn't there, really?
Yeah.
I think you're doing something wrong, but I just need enough people that are willing to kind of connect with what I do and pay me to do some of it for them. That's all I need.
Perfect. We would like to share a bit more about your books, but before we do that, let me remind guys, because we will be coming towards the end of our interview. So if you guys are watching and if you have any curious questions, if you want to ask anything about how to start freelancing, any tips, please do let us know. Nina, we had a really lovely feedback on your story. Yeah, Andra is sharing. I love your story. I have recently learned how important it is to trust your gut, and I'm really happy that you mentioned it is an inspiration. So fantastic. So please, guys, this is probably your last opportunity today before we finish off to ask questions. So, your books. Would you like to show us your books? I'm
Oh, this is always
curious.
it's embarrassing, isn't it? Really. So it's it's almost like I wrote them, and then it was almost like, well, they're out there if you want them. And it's kind of like, well, how are you going to promote them? I thought, well, I don't know. But anyway, I do have them conveniently to hand.
Mhm.
So the first one that I put together is called Procrastinations.
Okay, and
Um,
yeah,
and
now we can see it. Now we
yeah,
can
I
see it
don't
better.
so that was a book that I had actually put together from a blog that I wrote before I became a writer. So
Mhm.
I was just writing just mad things about life and things that occurred to me. I'd like to think there was a touch of humour about it.
Mhm.
And I did that really just to pass the time, and sometimes when I should have been working, which is why it's called Procrastinations, because I used writing my blog as a tool to escape things that I really should have been doing.
Mhm.
And I put that together really just as a personal project, if I'm being honest,
Mhm.
because the blog had a few followers, and I just thought it would be a nice idea to put a book together of them. And I'm really pleased that I did. I'm really proud of it.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's just quite a light-hearted read. I'd almost say, I mean, there is a review that says it's the perfect holiday read, which
Mhm.
flattering, and it's just the kind of book that I guess you can kind of dip in and out of sort of at will. But yes, that's
So you can open or you can start at any page of the book, so you don't need to read from the beginning to the end. Whichever page you open, you can just go through and get inspired.
surprise yourself by opening up a random page. If you want,
Surprise yourself.
like a person that likes to read a book from the beginning, you don't have to do that. That's a really good selling point.
Yeah, that is actually because I'm one of those people, I tend to really look at the back, look through the content. So what does it say? Is there something new? And then I go, oh my God, this book has more than 100 pages. Do I really need to read it all? Or can I just go to the bits that I enjoy? So I love reading books, but there is this bit that is really like really focused and do I need to really read it all?
It's 230 pages, so you would be thinking that about this book. You don't have to start at the beginning.
No, I would pick the best bits, right?
There's a lot about my career change in there as well, because I kind of blogged about the course that I did. So there's quite a lot about how I approached the career change and sort of how it beginnings.
Perfect.
So I'm quite proud of it for that. It kind of charts a certain period of my life that I'm happy that I did. So and then my most recent one, which I published just before the global pandemic hit, and so I haven't done a book launch for it that I wanted to do. And but this one is called I'd Rather Get a Cat and Save the Planet: Conversations with Child-Free Women. And that's exactly what it is. So going freelance kind of revealed to me, I think, it just kind of threw up some observations, and I was asked a lot, or it was actually assumed quite a lot when I met people for the first time, that I had left a career in the city to concentrate on bringing up a family, and that I was home with my children while I was doing some writing. And it's actually I found it quite hard to get across sometimes, the fact that I don't have children, not particularly interested in having children, never have been. And that I'm doing something that I love, and that's why I'm working from home. It's not to juggle like a career and family. So it was kind of spurred by that, and I thought there must be, because we get stuck in the same conversations all the time when you're a woman of a certain age, as I am, which tend to revolve around children, because obviously a lot of women my age have got children, and it's kind of a little bit samey and a little bit and there's a lot of assumptions that go on, and you get asked the same questions and the same comments tend to come up.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't be the only one that thinks like this. And I'm not militant about it, but I just wanted to kind of, at the same time, there's a lot of books out there that talk about motherhood. And they talk about it in a really lovely, light-hearted, way that you kind of feel like you're all in it together and all this, that and the other. Whereas books about not having children are quite militant, and they're quite aggressive, and they're quite kind of I've decided I've taken a stance that's not the same, it's not part of society. And I think deciding not to have children is just as much part of society as
deciding to do. Yeah.
So I thought, I wonder if other people feel the same way I do. So I posted a call out on social media, and I got floods of replies. So I started arranging some coffee meetings with these ladies, and I just had conversation with them about what it was like to be child free and to have chosen not to have had children.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written the book's a light-hearted kind of take on those conversations. So it's a little bit discovering the Me Too moments of not having children. So I don't know, like, so the same questions that you tend to get asked. So who's going to look after you when you get old? And you know, won't you miss not having grandchildren, and sort of all this, that and the other, and the same things that tend to get asked. And it's just us looking at it in a really light-hearted way, in the same way that books about motherhood are written, where everything's really light-hearted and supportive. I wanted something similar. I hope that makes sense, because I feel like I've rambled about this. It's been a bit of a passion project for me, that. So
it does. And I was going to say that must have felt very personal, like really to share that, even for instance when you felt like having these conversations in the office. And I would say it's part of like an enlightenment, maybe a movement where it is a topic where sometimes people don't even feel comfortable to talk about it, but they throw the question because this is the common question you would ask in the office without maybe considering the consequences of it.
Yeah, it's amazing how many insights speaking to these women gave me, but also how hushed our conversations were if they were in a public place. So if I was having a coffee conversation in a cafe, for example, and we were starting to talk about not having children, we'd lower our voices because we wouldn't want people to overhear us and kind of think,
right.
Two women have decided they hate children, which was not what we were saying. But you worry that people are going to get the wrong impression, so you lower your voice, and it becomes a shady topic to talk about for reasons completely unknown, because there's no reason why you can't talk about not having children, in, you know, as long as it's not in a derogatory way. So it was just, I thought that was interesting. And the amount of ladies that I spoke to, that once we'd had our conversation, they felt more confident going off and dropping it into a conversation with somebody else, and actually realizing people don't react as aggressively as you think they might if you sort of look at the media and stuff like that, where it seems to be a perennial problem. Actually, in the real world, people don't really care that much, and you can talk about it if you want, but you just don't necessarily realize that you can.
So if I were to choose a couple of words to describe your book, it would be lighthearted, empowering. Would you agree with that?
I would like to think it's supportive of everybody, because as much as it's about women that have decided not to have children, I wanted it to appeal to people with children as well. I wanted it to feel like I mean, the way that I've pitched it is that it's almost like you've invited people around for a chat over drinks, and it's just light-hearted and supportive. And yes, the topic's about not having children, but I mean, my best friend's a mum of 3, so it's kind of, I wanted her to be able to pick it up and read it, enjoy it as well as somebody that didn't. Just as I've read books on motherhood because I'm interested in a life that's not like mine, and I wanted other people to pick up my book and feel the same way about it. Not that I'm forbidden from reading this, because it's about a life that isn't like mine. I wanted to do the opposite.
Nice one. And we have a question. Alison is actually sharing, it needs to be spoken about more openly. Well done, Nina. Your book is fantastic. So another compliment. And we also have a question for you. And James is reading my mind because he's asking, can you ask Nina what's her next project? And I was actually going to ask something similar. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's getting a bit dark, but I'm in the heart of the Europe and we are 1 hour ahead. So I'm sorry, and I cannot turn the light on. So excuse the dark background. But back to your inspiration, Nina. What is your next book project, if you would like to share with us? And I also like to challenge you. What are your next big dreams in your business and writing career?
I'm putting the finishing touches to a novel that I've been working on for years and years and years, and I really want to finish it. So that's my latest project. It's nearly done. I've learned so much writing it, and it's probably never going to be read by anyone, but I just need to finish it and say that I've written 2 drafts of it. I'm now on the 3rd one, and it's going to be the final one. And whatever happens with it after that happens, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll just see what journey that has. As for big dreams, I have always wanted my own column in like a national magazine or a newspaper, and that's eluded me so far. But I just think that if I carry on writing and publishing and continuing to do that and making the right connections, and one day that will happen. I just need to have.
Yeah. And what kind of newspaper? Tell me more.
Anything really, just where I get to ramble on about life, I think, really. So I've always really admired Caitlin Moran as a writer. If I could have her career, or somebody like David Sedaris, if I could have one of those types of careers, I would be in heaven. But they're not easy to come by, and neither should they be. So there's a lot more work to do before I can get to that level.
Did love it. But you never know, right? Career dreams are for living, and we will soon be finishing. So let me just check if we have another question. So far not. So Nina, I would like to finish off with one more question, if I may, and that would be, if you really, we talked about tips and helping people to, I would say, give them encouragement if they want to go freelancing and what they need to be careful about. What would you say in one biggest tip that you would really recommend? Like, if you want to start working for yourself, if you want to work freelance, this is the number one thing. Really, don't ignore it.
Just arm yourself with the right information. So in my case, I was following my gut, which it's a thing that everybody says, but it's really true. If something's telling you need to change, don't ignore it. But also arm yourself with the right information. So find out how much money you need, and how much you could cut back by, and paint a realistic picture where this change could happen. And just think to yourself, so this is what I need now, how could I make it happen? But I also think find somebody to talk to, like whether that's a coach like yourself, and I would recommend people did, but find someone who's going to listen to your ideas in a non-judgmental and maybe even an encouraging way. It's really easy to get stuck in the same groove, like when you see the same people all the time and they know you as a certain thing and doing a certain job. It can be quite difficult to get them to see you in a different light. So if you work with somebody else, and that could even be like a work colleague or somebody that you've just met down the pub or something like that, but somebody who will listen non-judgmentally and ask the right questions to kind of encourage you and draw out some of those things. Because I don't actually think I'm not saying it can't be done, but I think it's a lot harder to do something like go freelance from an employed background completely on your own. You're going to need some help and support. And actually, everybody, Adri is perfect for this. She's brilliant. She asks perfect questions. She really gets to the heart of what's kind of troubling you and what other things you could be doing instead. So if you're watching this, listening to me rambling on, and you're kind of thinking, I want to explore doing something like that, I would really recommend getting in touch with Adri. She's great. I've known her for a few years now, and she's just brilliant. So get in contact with her.
Sounds like I've paid for this advertisement, but I have no.
I know how good you are.
I just wanted to clarify to people, we actually know each other for a very long time. And I really remember when I started with my career coaching business, and I still work as a manager. I actually rediscovered that this is one of my big passions. So I run my business part-time. I went in the safe option. I was really struggling, like, when people see on my LinkedIn profile that I'm a finance manager as well as a career coach, like, are they not going to think that I am this kind of, person who doesn't know what they want? Like, is it even possible to have 2 careers? And how would people perceive me? And at this point, I think I actually reached out to you to say, Nina, this is what I want to do. I already have clients, but I'm really like scared about this visibility because I was worried it might have an impact on my career. It might show my employer that I'm not trusted because I'm up to something else. And there was all sorts of, crazy ideas in my head. And it was about a good time to get them out of my head and put it on a LinkedIn profile. So thank you very much for doing that. And also for
thinking anything negative, the fact that you didn't speak English when you came here, now you're running a business in a language that isn't your own. You put amazing content out all the time. I think you're an absolute inspiration. I think people could learn a lot from you. So it goes to show these are the limiting beliefs that everybody has. Somebody as amazing as Adri can think that about herself, then that's definitely something to think about for yourself, for everybody.
It is. And sorry for jumping in. I'm just mindful of the time as well, because I said 40 minutes and we keep on talking, and I'm sure we could for another hour. So maybe in a 1 year time, you might get invited again to share about how your novel went out and what are you up to if you have your column. And tonight, I would really like to say thank you so much for coming and joining this live session, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your experiences, for empowering and inspiring people. And guys, for those of you who would like to learn about blogging, are thinking of blogging, or would like some help with writing the content for your website, if you want to start freelancing and you feel that you want to have a website professionally written for you, or if you are going for dates or on a dating profile and you want to have a nice juicy profile, do reach out to Nina.
Juicy.
Yeah, but dating profile cannot be boring, right? That would be like literally. So if you want to move away from Tinder, when you just like scroll through the pictures and you're really serious about dating and attracting the right person, Nina can also help you to write your lovely, lovely dating profile. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Please feel free to post your links to social media below this interview. And guys, if you're in a similar situation, if you really feel that you have this inner calling, that you want to make a career change and you feel stuck, frustrated, fed up, and you don't know what your next career steps should be, I would love to invite you not just to follow this page, but really join my free membership group that is called Zero to Dream Job Club. It's a really lively, inspiring, and supportive group, a safe space to ask questions and to really get your head around what do I want to do next. So together we will support you to find clarity and confidence to make a positive change in your working life and in your life in general. So thank you for watching tonight, and I look forward to speaking with you, Nina, in the close future, in 1 year time. And
before then.
before then, right. So you will have your column before then. Perfect. And guys, good night. Have a beautiful and productive week. And we will see each other soon for the next Dream Job interview. Bye.